What's up, everybody? It's Jrod, the filmmaker, former film major, frequent fighting gamer from Philadelphia, and today we are back for another very special episode. And I decided to rewatch Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just one of the most amazing shows that I've ever seen. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching it over again. It only gets better with time, and I have a deeper appreciation for it now that I write and I create characters and worlds. So now I think I can safely say that it is the best show that I've watched from my childhood. The way it's written, the way the characters interact, the character arcs and the stories, they just all work so well together. And so today I'm going to get into the top 10 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm only going to do The Last Airbender. After I finish Korra, I will consider doing the top 10 episodes of Legend of Korra. And for this list, I'm considering episodes from all 3 seasons, but I'm excluding any episodes that were 2 or more parts. There's The Day of Black Sun, Sozin's Comet, Boiling Rock. Those 2, 3, and 4 part episodes I'm not going to consider. But any single episode stories I will consider, and I have my list here. Get into the top 10 Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes. Alright, so first off, we have Ba Sing Se, City of Walls and Secrets. First of all, Aang Gang just gets to Ba Sing Se, but they're being handled by the Earth King and Ju Li and the Dai Li, Long Fang of the Dai Li, because they're trying to keep any word of war, Fire Nation, all of that outside of the city. And that's a problem because the Fire Nation is coming. They end up taking Ba Sing Se, and it probably could have been avoided. Also, this episode has one of the greatest fight scenes in the whole series, Jet versus Zuko. And Jet comes in, he's a freedom fighter, he's extremely militant, he has some well intentions, but he goes way too far. And he figures out that Zuko and Iroh are firebenders and tries to expose them to the rest of Ba Sing Se. And he does so by taking out his hook swords and challenging him to a good old-fashioned battle. But Zuko doesn't out himself as a firebender. He exclusively sticks to his skills with the swords, and I think that's something that he learned from Zuko alone. Number 9, The Avatar and the Fire Lord. The Avatar and the Fire Lord is one of those episodes that I didn't remember too much when I was younger and first, and Prince Sozin, who eventually becomes Fire Lord Sozin, and he's the Fire Lord that starts the 100-Year War. So it's basically the origin story of this war, as you get them when they're very little kids. One finds out that he's the Avatar, the other one has been raised to be the new Fire Lord. They are friends up until their adulthood, but then they start to disagree. And next we got the Blind Bandit. There's a lot I can say about this episode, but let's just say it introduces one of the best characters in the series, Toph Beifong, the strongest earthbender, the first metal bender, just the Blind Bandit. And it also gives you this professional wrestling WWE style of earthbending, which is so fun. It's so great. It gives you all these cool earthbending fighting characters. And it also, I think, evolves farther into the Legend of Korra with pro bending and then the Earth Kingdom cage fighting that Korra found herself in book 4 of her series. So yeah, I think it just started something small that led up to be really important to the series, introduced one of the best characters. So it also shows you how Toph is perceived versus how Toph perceives herself, and that really just gives you so much about the character in such a short time. Number 7 on the list is the Blue Spirit. And the Blue Spirit is the only episode I included from book 1. Book 1 was great, but this was definitely the best episode for sure, where Aang actually gets captured by General Zhao. Zuko disguises himself as the Blue Spirit and frees Aang. It's an amazing episode. And visually, it looks so good. It really starts off Zuko and Aang's relationship with this quote here.
You know what the worst part about being born over 100 years ago is? I miss all the friends I used to hang out with. Before the war started, I used to always visit my friend Kuzan. The 2 of us, we get in and out of so much trouble together. He was one of the best friends I ever had. And he was from the Fire Nation, just like you. If we knew each other back then, do you think we could have been friends too?
Which later Zuko reiterates here.
Why aren't you saying anything? You once said you thought we could be friends. You know I have good in me.
And yeah, it just really goes deep, and it's really important to the story looking back. Number 6, Crossroads of Destiny. This is the only season finale that I can include on the list, because it's the only season finale that was one part story, not a multiple part story. So the Earth 2 finale, so many things just came to a head in this episode. Aang tried to master the Avatar state with Guru Patik. He left before he could finish that training because of Katara. He didn't want to give up his connection to Katara. He went back to save Katara. You've got Katara trying to get Zuko to turn to the good side, but Zuko eventually betrays Katara, Iroh, and teams up with Azula. You've got the Dai Li versus Toph and the Aang gang. You've got Aang going into the Avatar state to try to end it, and Azula takes him down with some lightning. Aang could have died in that episode, but Katara healed him with the spirit water from season 1. It's just so much in this one episode, and it is like, if you want a big action fight scene episode, this is one of the best ones to go to. So that's why it's number 6 on the list. And number 5 is The Beach. The Beach is The Beach. It's one of the most memorable episodes for me. I have probably seen it more than I've seen a lot of the other episodes, and it is about Zuko, Mai, Ty Lee, and Azula in the Fire Nation. They go to Ember Island, and they have like a Breakfast Club moment. They really talk about what their angst and their internal conflicts are, and they say it outright, and they try to work through them. You got Zuko, who's angry but has no one else to be angry at but himself. You've got Mai, who's worried about showing any emotions because she might be seen as vulnerable. You got Ty Lee, who has so many family members. She wanted to distinguish herself and be an individual. And then you've got Azula, who created a rift between herself and her mother because she's basically a psychopath. She's devoid of any emotions. She went right when everyone wanted her to go left. And they all just really are candid about speaking about how they feel, which is really different. A bunch of villains getting together and talking about their feelings, but it's a great episode. Number 4, The Puppet Master. The Puppet Master is one of the creepiest episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It goes for some horror tropes, some creepy, eerie stuff to keep you on your toes. And in the end, you get introduced to a sick concept in bloodbending, a sick character in The Puppet Master who was a waterbender who got captured, ended up living her life out in the Fire Nation and she escaped prison by bloodbending, and then she gets revenge on any random firebending citizen that she can. It's just an amazing storyline, and it taught Katara and the entire world about what bloodbending is, which became so much more significant later down the line. So next, number 3 on the list is The Drill. The Drill is another memorable episode. I can almost remember it from start to finish. Aang and the gang just make it to Ba Sing Se, and right when they think they're safe, they see a giant Fire Nation drill headed and trying to tear down the walls of Ba Sing Se. This is another episode that's significant in more ways than you realize, because you have the fact that Azula is coming and trying to conquer Ba Sing Se years and years after Iroh tried to come and conquer Ba Sing Se, which that was really a turning point for Iroh's life. He was next in line to be the Fire Lord, and he tried to take Ba Sing Se when he was just a general. He failed. His son died, and I think from that moment he just could not care less about being a general in the Fire Nation, let alone being the Fire Lord. And so that is why Zuko's father, Ozai, that's why Ozai ended up becoming the Fire Lord, and Iroh basically went the opposite way and tried to lead someone towards the right path. Great episode, and it gives you this really sick shot of Aang taking down the drill with that final concussive blast after they weakened the whole thing. Great episode all around. Another one that's like, there's great action in it, there's like a couple great fight scenes, but just the episode altogether it brings so much to the story. Number 2 on the list is Sokka's Master. Now, if you don't know, Sokka's Master is the episode where Sokka decides he wants to find his thing. He's the only non-bender in the group. He wants to feel just as important. So he goes out and he finds a sword. And instead of just buying a sword and taking it with him, he finds a master of the sword who teaches him how to fight with a sword. He teaches him a lot about life. He teaches him how to make his own sword, which he eventually does, and he makes the meteorite space sword, one of the sickest things. And yeah, that's the moment where Sokka goes from the funny, the comic relief, the brother of everyone in the group to the warrior, the leader, the chief. You know, Sokka really just had that overnight transition when he learned the sword, and really a sick episode. Also, his sword master ended up being a member of the White Lotus, which I think has a lot more significance to the story later down the line. The number one episode, in my opinion, was the number one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And as you can see, I had a lot to think about. It was hard to pick which episodes, and it was hard to order those episodes, and it was really hard to figure out which one is my favorite of them all. But I think I finally did. And it actually surprised me. So if you would have asked me this when I was a kid, I would have probably chose one of the cooler action scene episodes, something I already mentioned. But after my rewatch, I decided that the number one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender is Tales from Ba Sing Se. This is an episode that takes place during the Appa is Lost arc, where Appa got stolen by sandbenders. Aang had he went through the stages of just being extremely angry, being almost depressed, until he just kind of got more hopeful about the situation and dedicated to finding Appa. So in this episode, we get these small little vignettes of different characters. We get Aang, figure out what he would do in the times where he doesn't have Appa. He basically makes a zoo in Ba Sing Se. It's a really fun episode. We see Momo. Momo gets his own side adventure looking for Appa. And then finally we see Appa's perspective as he's lost and where he's been. And it's a lot, because he doesn't just, get captured and then get found later. He gets captured, almost gets freed by the Kyoshi warriors, gets captured again by the Dai Li, and gets freed by Zuko dressed as the Blue Spirit. But the most important part of this story is Iroh's part, the final part of this episode. Iroh just goes around. He tries to help as many people as he can. He meets some kids, helps them get out of some trouble. He meets a guy who tries to rob him, and he ends up teaching him how to, have a better stance, be a better person. He gets him some food. They just hang out for a little while, and then finally he goes to a memorial that he made for his son, and you realize that it's his son's birthday, I believe, or the anniversary. Yeah, I believe it's his son's birthday. So he makes a memorial for Lu Ten, sings one of the most beautiful songs ever, and you just want to cry with him, because he's definitely crying, but you want to cry with him. And why did I choose this episode as the best one? Because I'm realizing that what Avatar: The Last Airbender is best at is story, character, world building. And in this moment, you just put all your guard down. You forget that you're watching an animated show about, mythical people. And you just can really feel how sad Iroh is that he lost Lu Ten. And you also really get a sense of why he's motivated to help so many people. He says at the memorial that he just wished he could have helped his son. So now Iroh goes on trying to help everybody he can, Zuko and Azula and random people in the street who try to rob him, because he really just wishes he could have helped his son Lu Ten in that moment. And that is just, come on, y'all. I'm not gonna cry, but it seems like they really want us to cry on that part. So that's gonna be it. That's the top 10 Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes according to me. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and tell me if you feel me.
Champion, get shit on! Get shit on! You are carried by this character, bro. You suck, Scorpion, Wi-Fi, trash can, bro. You're garbage. Quit the game. You're garbage.